significant presidential apology. At the White House yesterday, President Clinton signed a formal letter of apology to the people of Hawaii.
This is their public image. This is the reality. Native Hawaiians represent nearly half of all those in prison and make up 30% of the homeless population.
You see, Hawaii is one of the most expensive places on earth. This leads to such phenomena. Poverty and drug abuse is everywhere here. You see people sleeping on the streets, much like in the mainland. One needs $18 per hour in order to cover the basics. The average income in Hawaii is something like 12. So, yeah. I still seem to forget that we are in the US. So, gun clubs. This is the one. Bloody hell, this is gorgeous. Look at this, man. It's phenomenal. You see, the first contact of these islands with what we call the Western world was some 200 years ago. It was when Captain Cook stranded on the shores of the Big Island, hence the Union Jack on that flag. We will talk about this history, mind you, but first, let's have a look at these free-roaming chickens. They are everywhere. Look at them. The natural evolution of the velociraptor. King Kamehameha, the first king that managed to unite all islands of Hawaii. Now, to be fair, he did that using British guns and managed to eliminate some 70% of the population in doing so. A lot of the native people were killed, not only because of the warfare, but also because of the Western diseases like flu, like measles. Are you alright, man? You alright?
Yeah, I'm just hot and thirsty.
You need help?
Yeah, I just need a drink. That's all. I'm okay. Just need a drink.
Okay.
Alright, thank you, sir.
I got a water for this guy. I don't know what to say. The contrast is huge. I mean, from one side, you have the beach. The beach is a different planet to some of the streets here. And then you have the middle, the in-between areas. I don't know. Look at this street, for example. Guy lying on the floor, unconscious. was just 2 streets that way. Hey there, Mr. Rooster. So what we have here is the oldest mission house in the whole of Hawaii, built in 1821. We should not forget the missionaries played a very important role in the history of Hawaii. You see, they did arrive here to promote the new religion, Christianity. However, when they settled, they made families with the locals, and their descendants became the sugarcane elite. Here's the library. They don't allow guns. Who would have thought? What lies beyond this curtain of banyan trees is probably Hawaii's most important building. See, this is the old palace. Now picture this in your head. In 1882, King Kalakaua and Queen Iolani moved into the just finished Iolani Palace. King Kalakaua passed away back in 1891, and his sister and heir to the throne, Liliuokalani, became the last sovereign ruler of the Hawaiian kingdom. Now, where the sugar commerce becomes involved in all of this, you see, back in the 1880s, the US Congress passed the Reciprocity Treaty. Now, what this meant was that Hawaiian exporters, sugar exporters, could basically export sugar in the US tax-free. This ended back in the 1890s, and it basically crippled the Hawaiian economy. In response, European and American politicians began to seriously consider the annexation of the Hawaiian Islands. If Hawaii would become an American state, it would mean that it would immediately benefit from favorable prices and very low taxes. This led to a coup d'etat. The local elites dethroned Queen Liliuokalani with the aid of the US military. Now, the Queen did make an attempt to restore the Hawaiian monarchy back in 1895, but this also failed. Now, if you're anything like me, and you appreciate the subtle irony of things, you will very much appreciate this. Sugar in the raw. This is the very reason that led to the annexation of Hawaii. Sugar. Now, regarding Pearl Harbor, the major advantage is that it's a fjord-like port. I mean, just look at this geography, man. The second advantage is its positioning right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Whoever controls Pearl Harbor controls the Pacific Ocean. And the third one is a little bit cheeky, and the Japanese took advantage of it. The waters are relatively deep, so you can fit in there a couple of small submarines, which had its significance when the Japanese attacked. And the Hawaiian kings initially did not want to lease Pearl Harbor to anyone, including the United States. The US decided to make an agreement with the King of Hawaii. In that agreement, Pearl Harbor was nowhere to be mentioned. That was quite an intelligent act from the US. That was the Reciprocity Treaty that we talked about earlier. As you will see, this treaty was a master plan by the US government in order to eventually get Pearl Harbor in its hands. The Hawaiian people and the Hawaiian government got to enjoy all the positives of such a treaty. The economy in Hawaii bloomed and people got rich quite fast. Now, some years later, the Reciprocity Treaty had to be reevaluated. And in that reevaluation, the US government decided that no, they would not cut taxes anymore from the sugar export. This was, of course, an economical catastrophe for Hawaii. So they had to do something in order to restore the previous status quo. The US government asked once again for the lease of Pearl Harbor, and this time the Hawaiian government could not say no. They couldn't refuse anymore. They made them an offer that they couldn't refuse. Later on, when the economic elites got rid of the last Hawaiian queen, there was no issue of Pearl Harbor anymore. Pearl Harbor belonged to the US.
The Japanese had tripled the battleship force of the U.S. Pacific Fleet as one of the potential threats to their own conquest of Asia.
1,177 people died during this attack. The biggest amount of victims in an attack in the US thus far. This is the US battleship Missouri. On this ship did Japan surrender and ended the World War II. Talking about Japanese descendants here. So this was the spot where the surrender of the Japanese army took place in Tokyo Bay. Alright, from up here you can see the memorial of the USS Arizona. This was the ship that was bombed by the Japanese army back on the 7th of December 1941 it was. Once upon a time, it was deployed abroad, and specifically in Greece, my own country, in order to represent the American interests during the Greek-Turkish war. And all these guns pointing at it. That was a weird choice. I guess those houses are the Navy personnel.
From the blast, it lifted the whole ship out of the water, and then it came crashing down on the keel, broke into numerous pieces, sank right away.
They basically sailed undetected, and I count here 2 weeks. That's amazing.
So they had 5 mini subs,
Yeah?
and the reason is that they weren't totally confident their airplanes could do the job on their own.
Yeah.
Submarines were an older technology, they were a little bit more reliable. The carriers went this way,
Yeah.
and then the subs went this way. Now, one of the mini subs was actually sunk by the US about an hour or so before the airplanes arrived,
Yeah.
but no warning was heeded. The ship's captain said we sank an enemy submarine, and no one thought he was being serious.
Okay.
They're like, yeah, right, whatever, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, then of course an hour later the attack happens and the Japanese achieve surprise.
Wow. I mean, so this is important. So this is the return route.
Yep.
Oh, wow. So 7 December, and this is something like 14 December, a week later, only then.
Yes, that's the first time we spotted the Japanese fleet, was around here.
That is phenomenal. Did it return to base, or was it sunk?
Nope, all 56 ships returned home. They weren't even hit once.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, question?
No, I find it amazing. In today's terms, that wouldn't be possible, but it's amazing to just think about it.
It's pretty mind-boggling.
The American-Japanese population of Hawaii, right after the attack here, was put in serious doubt and mistrust by everybody else. Now, the guy up in the tower told me that there is only one case of an American Japanese who actually decided to switch sides. Now, the rest of the people who were imprisoned in their own homeland were wrongfully imprisoned. And when they themselves asked to fight during the war, they were sent to Europe. Nobody trusted them to actually go into war against Japan. Ironically, after the attack in Pearl Harbor, one of the Japanese aircrafts fell and crashed on Niihau. Niihau is 100% private, owned by the Robinson family, sugar cultivating Robinson family. Aylmer Robinson, back in 1922, tried to alert the US Army over the possibility of an attack by the Japanese. That was 19 years before the actual attack on Pearl Harbor. So Mr. Robinson started carving furrows on the island. Furrows in order to make any possible landing by the Japanese Air Force impossible. Now he was using small tractors in order to achieve that. Mr. Robinson took the pilot as a hostage in order to interrogate. Said pilot was set free by an American-Japanese employee of Mr. Robinson. Probably the only one who switched sides. These are actually the windows of the hangar door, and you can actually see bullet holes actually came from the doors and the windows of this building here. This is the hangar 79. Look at this thing, there are even more bullet holes. So that plane back there was actually flown by former President George W. Bush Sr. some 3 years after the attack in Pearl Harbor. Now, what's interesting is that he was actually attacked by the Japanese army, and his plane actually fell. He managed to stay alive on a raft. By the way, all his crew died. He was the only survivor. We are in the world of submarines, my friends. This is the Dolphin submarine. I'm not sure if this is the one or another one that was named the Avenger, something like that. That spread chaos and terror and brutal attacks on the Japanese in order to retaliate for what happened here. It is a tad claustrophobic, they say.
We called the Mark 14th Philippians back in the day. We got $10,000 a piece there.
3 beds. Almost the length of my arm. So in order to look outside, you have to look through that.
Yeah. Hello.
What an exquisite facial hair, man. Bomb Tokyo again. Look at this beauty over there. These gentlemen are playing some sort of poker.
Good. How about you? Wonderful.
Dole Organic. Let's remember his name. You see, the first governor of Hawaii was a figure named Sanford B. Dole. The governor granted his cousin James permit to operate and start a company in Hawaii. This company was named Hawaiian Fruit. Hawaiian Fruit later became what we now know, Dole Corporation. One of the biggest and wealthiest fruit companies in the world. The Dole Corporation became so rich that permitted Mr. James Dole to be able to buy 98% of the island of Lanai. Can you believe it? Almost an entire island. 95% of Hawaiian land is owned by near 83 people. Can you believe that? Hello, sir. Can you really believe that? Lanai itself was transformed in the world's biggest pineapple plantation by Mr. James Dole. I don't know. Other prominent figures like Mark Zuckerberg, some 15, 16 square kilometers of the island of Kauai. Oprah Winfrey is the proud owner of 20 square kilometers in the island of Maui. As a matter of fact, the residents of Maui openly accuse Oprah Winfrey of not doing anything to help and support the community of Lahaina after the fires. Strange thing with land ownership and these islands. And believe me, it's not only rich people who own enormous amounts of land. It's also the army. The American army actually owns the island of Kapulaue, which was a training ground. These people were shooting rockets on that island, making it uninhabitable. Mr. Rooster, your brother is dead.
Section. Press 8. Police recruitment and job opportunities. Please call our career center at 723. Press 8.
All lines are busy.
Good morning. Could you connect me to the department responsible for possible towed away cars or stolen cars? Oh, island towing. Okay. But why did they do that? I mean, we parked in a perfectly normal zone. Oh, yeah, we did that. Right, okay. Right, okay. So she puts me on hold every time. Yeah, driver's license and cash only 167 and 50 cents. So pare male, όχι. We share everything. Even your faults, we share them. They are shareable. This is actually the second time that our car gets towed away. First one was in Tenerife. Also his fault. Thank you, sir. So that's how me and him play ball, you know? I walk, he drives the car, and every once in a while he loses it. And then we have to pick it up and pay the fine, you know? But it's okay, it's the second time. But he means well. So here we are, in a towing garage, paying fines. Now, this is an interesting figure. We have Easter Island settings. It kind of makes sense if you think that the first people to discover Hawaii were Polynesians. So imagine this, all this area of the Polynesia, Micronesia, Samoa, Tonga, Fiji. These people departed from somewhere here, crossed all the way the ocean and arrived up here to the Hawaiian Islands. Look at this, man. These are shark teeth. Let me be honest. What I perceive as a visitor concerning the whole modernization and westernization of these islands is basically sadness. This is what I got yesterday from the palace. This is what I get today from the Bishop Museum. Just picture this. One of the most holy places in the whole Hawaiian complex is the island of Kaho'olawe. It's a small island right next to Maui, if you look at the map. Now, this particular island was used for years and years by the US Army as a training and target exercise island. This made it uninhabitable. We're talking about one of the holiest places for the native Hawaiians. And these people turned it into targeting practice. That's what I understand from these two places. Anyway, it's sad. Another thing of major interest in Hawaii is the language and the names. Bear with me. In Hawaiian religion, Maui is a culture hero. He's basically a god. Now, he is the son of Akalana and his wife, Hina Ake Ahi. This couple had 4 sons. Maui Mua, Maui Wina, Maui Kiki Ki. Wow, they are petrified. Look at this father of Pero. Wow. Now, Maui Iki Iki. And Maui Akalana. Now let's focus on the dogs. Not to rip us apart. Another example of tourist hating doggos. Oh my god, this door is open. Let's hope there is no doggo here. Let's move fast. Can you hear this sound? If I understand correctly, some 70% of the ambulance calls are made because of drug overdose, and half of those basically die. This is the state of affairs in Honolulu. We have the purest form of destruction, my friends. Look at this. We also have nature.
I mean, I don't really get it. Is this an accident, or was it an attempt to get the insurance money? Who knows, man? Who knows? Imagine living in such an expensive place and suddenly I'd maybe get sick or who knows what happened here. And you need the money to pay hospital bills.
Look at the state of this car. Wow. It even has a post box